They called him weak until a mysterious system chose him. Now he copies any ability in 1 second and uses it better than its owner. Students laughed. Teachers doubted. But when the system activated, the academy realized a copy monster was born. A spar was going on between 2 students. One punch landed hard and the one on the receiving end sucked in a breath, complaining, "That hurt like hell!" He laughed it off, saying, "Suhong's Vajra fist has clearly improved again. Have you already stepped into the micro level?" Suhong stayed calm and replied, "I only broke through to micro level 2 days ago." In this world, martial arts were divided into ranks: basic, proficient, micro level, mastered, and perfect. Reaching micro level already put someone ahead of most peers. The other student couldn't help admiring him, saying, "Just based on Vajra fist alone, no one else in our class can compare." He then asked, "Are you done resting so we can continue practicing?" But the pain from that single punch was still lingering. He waved him off, calling him a cultivation maniac, and said, "I'm heading home to eat." Before leaving, he politely bade farewell, saying, "Goodbye, Teacher Lee." Teacher Lee reminded him, saying, "Straighten your clothes before going." Then he turned to Suhong and finally caught him, asking, "Why haven't you paid the 30,000 registration fee for the martial arts department yet? Applications are closing next month." Suhong hesitated and asked quietly, "Can you give me a few more days?" Teacher Lee sighed and said, "I understand your family situation, but rules are rules. There's nothing I can do." After everyone else left, Suhong stayed behind, continuing to practice alone. No matter how many times he repeated his forms, one thought kept circling in his mind: the 30,000 registration fee. His memories drifted back. When he was 3, his parents had died during a ferocious beast disaster. Since then, he had lived with his uncle and aunt. After discovering his talent for martial arts, they had done everything they could to support his training. In an era where ferocious beasts roamed freely, martial artists earned good money. He had trained to give them a better life. Yet now, it felt like he was only making things harder for them. Later, in a quiet corner, he returned to the cramped, worn-down place he called home. He asked softly, "Is the rent almost due? How much are we still short?" His uncle's voice answered first, saying, "The rent can wait. Little Hong's registration fee should be paid first." His aunt followed gently, saying, "With talent like his, Suhong is sure to succeed one day. We can't afford to hold him back." Then she added almost casually, "I'll stop taking my medicine. It isn't curing me anyway, and it'll save money." His uncle immediately objected, saying, "No, I'll just take another job instead. You stay home, rest properly, and focus on your health. Everything else will work out." Hearing all of this from the shadows, Suhong felt a tight ache in his chest. Sadness quietly washed over him. He couldn't help thinking, this is a stupid, messed up world. It had twisted his life into something he could barely recognize. Everywhere he looked, people were greedy. If someone simply wanted to register for something they were talented at, they still had to pay money for it. Money he had no talent for earning. He thought bitterly, if I were good at making money, I probably wouldn't have talent for martial arts at all. The more he thought about it, the crazier the world felt. Pushing those thoughts aside, he opened the door and called out, "I'm back." His aunt, who treated him like her own son, immediately fussed over him, asking, "Why did you practice so late again? You must be exhausted." Suhong tried to take over the chores, saying, "Let me handle it." She waved him off and replied, "It's nothing. Go rest so you won't be tired tomorrow." His uncle supported her, saying, "Listen to her and go rest quickly." Suhong returned to his room, but sleep refused to come. He lay there wide awake, his thoughts running in circles. His uncle and aunt had already sacrificed so much for him. He thought firmly, I can't keep letting this happen. This time I'll solve my own problem. For a martial artist to earn tens of thousands in just a few days, there was only one place that came to mind. The very next day, a loud announcement echoed through the streets. The announcer shouted, "Audience friends, welcome to the Martial Apprentice Arena Challenge. Here, only victory or defeat matters, regardless of life or death." It was the underground martial arena. The announcer continued loudly, saying, "Let me introduce today's ring defender, Mr. Minotaur. If he wins 4 matches in a row, he'll walk away with 60,000 in prize money. If he loses, he gets nothing." The crowd immediately erupted in whispers. Some spectators muttered, "No one recognizes him." Others scoffed, saying, "A newcomer jumping straight into the arena challenge is basically courting death." Off to the side, the announcer leaned over and told him, "Show some passion. Heat up the atmosphere." Minotaur looked confused and asked, "How am I supposed to do that?" The announcer sighed and replied, "Provoke the crowd crowd, curse a little. This is why rookies are such a headache. Realization dawned on Minotaur. Letting out a roar, he shouted, "Below the level of a martial artist, I am invincible. All weaklings, come fight me." The crowd exploded instantly. Some cursed him, shouting, "He's absurdly arrogant." Others laughed and praised his guts. The atmosphere instantly boiled over. Someone sneered, saying, "This guy won't even know how he dies later." That only fueled the chaos. Cheers erupted from every direction. Some people shouted for blood, others yelled insults at the so-called Minotaur. With the atmosphere reaching its peak, the announcer declared, "The match has officially begun." Behind the Minotaur mask, Su-hong remained calm. He could clearly feel the heavy killing intent unique to the underground arena. Still, this was the fastest way to gather enough tuition money. He thought confidently, "As long as I win a few rounds with my Vajra fist, it'll be worth it." His first opponent stepped forward, calling him an arrogant brat and saying, "I'll play with you for a bit." Su-hong barely paid attention. His eyes calmly sized the man up. The opponent's momentum was strong, but his footing was unstable. He concluded silently, "Winning won't be difficult." Seeing him distracted, the opponent cursed and charged forward with a punch. Su-hong sidestepped cleanly, then casually swung his other hand. The strike landed squarely on the man's jaw, sending him flying back to where he came from. The announcer instantly lost her composure, shouting excitedly, "Minotaur has taken his first win!" Laughing into the microphone, she added jokingly, "I might want to ask this masked fighter out someday." The crowd exploded with cheers. A second challenger stepped up, scoffing, "The last guy was just unlucky. Things will be different this time." Su-hong calmly replied, "Please." While judging his opponent, he thought, "Based on his build, his strength should be decent, perfect for testing my Vajra fist." The man shouted and leapt forward with a heavy punch. Su-hong met it head-on. With a single Vajra fist strike, he shattered the incoming force. The opponent cried out in shock, shouting, "What terrifying power!" Su-hong analyzed calmly. "Strong, but still weaker than me." After blocking the counterattack, the opponent relied too much on his upper body, leaving his waist wide open. Su-hong followed with a brutal kick, sending him flying off the stage just like the first challenger. The arena went wild. Some people cursed in disbelief, shouting, "He's insanely strong!" The announcer excitedly declared, "Minotaur has achieved 2 consecutive wins." The cheers grew louder, almost deafening. In a quieter corner, several well-dressed spectators observed carefully. One of them muttered, "The kid isn't even a quasi-martial artist, yet his strength surpasses the average." Another nodded and said, "There's no doubt, he's unusual." The announcer's voice rang out again, declaring, "Minotaur has secured his 3rd consecutive win." In the viewing area, one of the men commented, "He's better than the worst, but nowhere near the best. Someone like him is perfect material for match fixing." From behind him, a masked young man spoke, saying, "I'll handle it." The older man warned him, saying, "Don't reveal that you've already broken through to martial artist level." After racking up so many wins, Su-hong felt increasingly confident. Ordinary martial apprentices were no longer a challenge to him. He thought determinedly, "With my Vajra fist at the micro level, one more win will earn me the full 60,000. Suddenly, the crowd stirred loudly. People began shouting, "White Fox is stepping into the ring!" The moment the masked fighter appeared, the arena erupted. Some spectators exclaimed, "White Fox is a quasi-martial artist!" Others protested angrily, shouting, "A quasi-martial artist fighting a martial apprentice is basically cheating!" Su-hong's heart sank slightly. A quasi-martial artist. This match was going to be troublesome. Still, backing down wasn't an option. He couldn't afford to lose now. White Fox stopped in front of him and studied him calmly before saying, "Don't be afraid. I know how to hold back." The announcer's voice suddenly rang out again. "This is the final match of the arena challenge. Begin!" Both fighters exploded forward at full speed. Su-hong immediately sensed the gap between their realms. His cultivation was lower, so he had no choice but to go all out from the start. His punch blasted forward, sending visible shockwaves rippling through the air. Their fists collided violently. The entire ring trembled from the impact. The moment their fists met, Su-hong's heart skipped. Something was wrong. His opponent wasn't a quasi-martial artist at all. He was a true martial artist who had deliberately suppressed his vitality. A surge of tension washed over him. He had never expected a monster like this to appear out of nowhere. nowhere. White Fox inhaled sharply and launched another attack, unleashing Thunder Rush Fist. One strike followed another in rapid succession. Each blow was heavier than the last. Under the relentless assault, Su Hong was forced backward as pain spread throughout his body. So this is the strength of a real martial artist, he thought. The crowd was stunned. Someone shouted, "That's the 3-echo Thunder Rush Fist." Another person yelled, "No one expected to see that move here." Others shook their heads and said, "The Minotaur is finished." To them, the outcome was already obvious. Yet White Fox showed no intention of stopping. His attacks continued without mercy. After a while, White Fox grew bored and said, "Only defending is pointless. Fight back. I want to see your real strength." For now, Minotaur could do nothing but block. Even through his defenses, every punch tore into him. If this continues, I'll definitely lose, he realized. He needed a chance to counterattack, but White Fox's strikes were too fast, too relentless. Then suddenly, White Fox found an opening. His punch shot straight toward Minotaur's jaw. The impact sent him flying across the ring before crashing heavily onto the ground. His vision blurred. His consciousness began to fade. Before he could recover, White Fox stepped forward and said calmly, "You won't get a single coin from this match." Then he added, "But my teacher is willing to invite you. If you agree to fix matches for us in the future, we'll pay you the same as this prize money." Even with White Fox's foot pressing down on his face, Minotaur answered without hesitation, "I will never do something that shameless." White Fox froze for a moment, clearly surprised by the rejection. Regaining his composure, he said coldly, "Think carefully. Refusing us comes with a price you can't afford." Minotaur shot back, "People who do things like this, do they really deserve to call themselves martial artists?" That was the final straw. White Fox said coldly, "Then there's nothing left to discuss." As he turned to leave, he added, "If you won't cooperate, I'll cripple you. You can forget about ever becoming a martial artist." As White Fox moved to shatter his leg, those words echoed sharply in Minotaur's mind. Become a martial artist. Instinct exploded within him. At the last second, he twisted his body and barely avoided the blow. He couldn't afford to be crippled. Forcing himself back up, Minotaur stepped forward again. White Fox stared in shock as Minotaur steadied himself, his eyes burning with determination. "I can't fall here. Not here." Something snapped inside him. A second wind surged through his battered body. White Fox frowned in disbelief. He had clearly landed Thunder Rush Fist earlier, yet this man was still standing. Inside his heart, Su Hong remained painfully clear-headed. He wanted to become a martial artist. He couldn't let his uncle and aunt's sacrifices go to waste. He wanted to give them a better life. But did that mean abandoning everything a martial artist stood for? The answer came instantly. No, never. At that exact moment, something strange happened. A translucent status window appeared before his eyes. Cold, emotionless text floated across it, asking, "What are you willing to sacrifice for your future and your faith?" Su Hong answered without hesitation. "Everything." The notification asked again, "Are you truly willing to pay the price?" Minotaur answered again, "Everything." The moment the word left his mouth, something inside him changed. His shadow twisted and stretched across the ground, slowly forming the outline of a terrifying monster. Su Hong was stunned. He didn't know where this place was, and the shadow behind him belonged to an unknown, massive existence. Before he could react, the entity spoke. "I will give you this chance." An unfamiliar aura wrapped around him. Another translucent window appeared, displaying his attributes. Name, Su Hong Vitality, 85. Spirit, 23. Physique, Mortal Body. Martial Skills, Vajra Fist, Micro Level. 7% Floating Light Palm. Proficient, 35% Void Step. Proficient, 56%. Martial Value, 0. Su Hong stared in disbelief. On impulse, he reached forward and touched the mission section. A new notification appeared. Random mission, Way of the Arena. Mission description. The road to becoming a powerhouse is filled with thorns. Player, polish your martial arts here and defeat White Fox in the outside world. Objectives. Raise Vajra Fist to mastered level. Raise Floating Light Palm and Void Step to micro level. Mission reward. Beginner's guide. Before he could react, a fist shot straight toward his face. Su Hong instinctively ducked. When he looked up, he froze. Standing before him was someone who looked exactly like him. The clone attacked using Vajra Fist with flawless precision. Every movement was perfect, like a living textbook. Su Hong immediately realized, this isn't just a fight, it's a demonstration. As he he clashed with the clone, he suddenly noticed something. His Vajra fist proficiency increased. 7%, 10%. The growth was terrifyingly fast. This place lets me rapidly upgrade my martial skills. He continued fighting, learning, and adapting. His proficiency climbed higher and higher, until finally it reached 100%. Floating light palm reached full mastery. With a single strike, he blasted the clone away. Void step followed, reaching full proficiency. Even Vajra fist reached perfection. Exhaustion finally hit him. Breathing heavily, he straightened up and said sincerely, "Thank you." A notification appeared. "Mission complete. Way of the arena. Rewards have been issued. Return to reality?" Su-hong answered immediately, "Yes." In the next instant, he returned to the arena, still wearing the Minotaur mask, standing before White Fox. White Fox sneered and rushed forward. Still pretending to be mysterious? He unleashed Thunder Rush Fist again, but this time, everything was different. Minotaur said calmly, "Too slow." He slipped past every strike effortlessly. Before White Fox could react, a fist slammed into his face. The impact shattered his mask and sent him crashing to the ground. The entire arena froze. The crowd stared in disbelief. Minotaur stood tall, while White Fox lay unconscious at his feet. Minotaur asked calmly, "When will I receive the prize money? I believe I've won the 4th match." The announcer stammered in shock before the system announcement echoed, "Minotaur is officially the winner! He has successfully defended the ring and earned the grand prize of 60,000. Among the audience, a teacher's expression darkened. Vajra fist, at the mastered level. How could a mere martial apprentice possibly reach that level? Even most true martial artists can't achieve it. Realizing something was wrong, he quietly ordered his people, "Follow Minotaur and investigate his true identity." They immediately acknowledged the command. After leaving the arena, Su-hong quickly sensed that he was being followed. The moment they closed in, he burst into motion. His speed exploded as he vanished from their sight. The pursuers stopped in confusion. Where did he go? But they knew they couldn't give up. The boss wanted answers. Hidden safely in the shadows, Su-hong sneered inwardly at their attempt to track him. An hour later, he had already returned home. When his aunt and uncle saw the large pile of money he brought back, they were completely stunned. His uncle half joked, "Did you rob a bank or something? Where did all this money come from?" Su-hong replied casually, "I've been working as a sparring partner at a dojo. The master liked my talent, so he decided to sponsor my martial arts studies." His uncle frowned slightly and asked, "Isn't that the same dojo you complained about before? The stingy one?" Su-hong simply looked at them and asked quietly, "Do you still not trust me?" Faced with his serious expression, both of them suddenly smiled. His uncle laughed warmly. "Of course we trust you. Our little Hong would never lie to us." His aunt nodded happily. "Our little Hong definitely has a bright future ahead." The two of them were so happy, they didn't even know how to properly express it. Later that night, Su-hong climbed onto the rooftop alone. Sitting beneath the quiet sky, he looked up at the bright, beautiful moon. It was one of those moments where a boy slowly turned into a man. He reviewed everything in his mind. The martial arts exam registration fee was paid, the rent was settled. Even his aunt's medical expenses were no longer urgent. Thinking about it, he couldn't help laughing in relief. Calling up the system interface, he muttered, "Turning danger into safety." That was all thanks to this mysterious system. Looking closer, he noticed something. Aside from his martial skill levels, his other stats hadn't changed much. His eyes stopped at one specific stat, martial value. A new notification appeared. Defeated higher-level opponent, reward 57 martial value points. Martial value can be used to increase vitality and martial skills. Please use carefully. Su-hong smiled slightly. Let's try it. The moment he added points into vitality, a scorching energy exploded through his body like flames roaring through his veins. He quickly checked his stats. Vitality 90. That was already the level of a quasi-martial artist. Without hesitation, he poured all remaining points into vitality. The number kept rising. With every increase, his strength became more obvious. His body felt lighter, stronger, more alive than ever. Under the moonlight, Su-hong clenched his fists. This is only the beginning. After calming down, he noticed something else. His wounds had almost completely healed. His entire body brimmed with power. With energy to spare, he suddenly felt the urge to test his strength. Leaping across rooftops, he quickly thought of the perfect place. The school drill ground. It has a combat power tester. Soon, he arrived at Star City No. 1 High School's outdoor drill ground. The area was silent. A lone Tier 1 combat power tester stood in the darkness. Gathering his blazing vitality, Su-hong rolled his shoulders. "I'll hold back. 70% should be enough." His fist struck the machine. Boom! The impact echoed sharply. For a split second, his heart jumped at how heavy the punch felt. Then, the tester sparked and completely shut down. Su-hong stared at it, stunned. "The quality of this thing is awful." Then panic hit him. "Wait, are they going to make me pay for this?" Deciding not to stay, he immediately turned to leave. Just then, a voice shouted from behind, "Who's making noise in the middle of the night?" Su-hong didn't even turn around. He ran. Moments later, a furious caretaker rushed over and saw the destroyed machine. "What bastard did this?" Grinding his teeth, he growled, "It must be those two troublemakers, Chun-shan and Luo. I'll deal with them once school starts." The next day, Star City No. 1. High school's gymnasium was packed. Students filled the area wall to wall. Su-hong stood quietly among them. While waiting, he overheard someone say, "Did you hear? Chun-shan got punished." Su-hong blinked in surprise. "What happened?" Someone answered, "He smashed the combat tester last night and refused to admit it. The principal punished him immediately." Su-hong felt extremely awkward. So, someone else took the blame. At the same time, he felt relieved. If they had caught him, he would never have been able to pay for it. Suddenly, the announcer's voice echoed across the gym. "Quiet down, everyone. We have invited an old comrade of mine, a Tier 3 martial artist, Chanshin. He will teach a C-rank martial art, Thunder Rush Fist." The gym instantly exploded with excitement. Tier 3 martial artist? C-rank martial arts cost hundreds of thousands outside. But the moment Su-hong heard the name, his eyes lit up. Thunder Rush Fist. That was the exact technique White Fox had used in the underground arena. One punch, producing the impact of 3. Its power was undeniable. "There's no way I'm missing this chance." Chanshin stepped forward and said calmly, "I will demonstrate this technique 10 times. How much you learn depends entirely on you." He adjusted his stance. Thunder Rush Fist. His punch exploded forward. The momentum was overwhelming. The gym echoed with thunder. While demonstrating, he explained, "Basic level produces 1 thunderclap. Proficient level produces 3. Micro level produces 5. Mastered level produces 7. That is my current realm." He finished the demonstration. 7 thunderous echoes exploded across the gym. The air itself trembled. After regulating his breathing, he added, "At the perfect realm, 1 strike produces 9 thunder sounds. But don't aim too high. If you grasp the basics today, that's already good." He began the second demonstration. Students rushed to imitate him. Battle cries echoed awkwardly as they struggled to copy the technique. Hours passed. Students collapsed, one by one. "I can't understand this at all. I'm exhausted." A few stubborn students continued training, despite their bodies screaming in pain. One of Su-hong's friends wiped his sweat and sighed. C-rank martial arts are impossible to learn. Then he suddenly looked around. "Wait, where's Su-hong?" For a moment, he wondered, did he already learn it? Suddenly, excited laughter erupted nearby. "I did it! I reached basic level!" The friend turned and saw Chun-shan standing proudly. Jealousy immediately filled the crowd. "No wonder he's called a genius." The principal stepped forward proudly. "This is our school's #1 genius, Chun-shan." Turning to Chanshin, he asked, "Would you be interested in guiding him further?" Students surrounded Chun-shan, showering him with praise. "True prodigy, a monster talent." Chanshin, however, remained unimpressed. "This barely counts as genius. In other cities, this is just average." They walked outside while talking. Chanshin sighed. "This batch of students is disappointing. The trip feels pointless." Deep down, he suspected the school accepted too many wealthy students instead of talented ones. Still, he comforted himself, thinking, at least one reached basic level, and the payment was good. Out loud, he asked, "Did you really expect to find a top-tier genius here?" The principal sighed. "Martial cultivation is cruel. Talent is everything. Hard work alone isn't enough." Just then, then, a sound echoed through the air. Both of them froze. Then they snapped their heads toward the source. Boom! Boom! 7 consecutive thunderous echoes. 7 sound thunder rush fist. Their faces changed instantly. They exclaimed in disbelief, asking how the school could possibly have someone capable of that level. The principal was even more stunned. He said, "That's impossible. I've never heard of such a person in the school." Only then did the principal realize something else. He didn't even recognize that student. After all, the kid hadn't paid a single extra fee. His gaze fixed on the clothes, and his heart skipped. That uniform clearly marked him as a student. The shock hit hard. If things had gone his way, this student probably wouldn't have even qualified to attend the lesson. And yet, even Chin-tion was stunned. He muttered, "I've only taught for half a day, yet someone has already reached the mastered level." The principal's mind went blank. He asked, "Did I hear wrong? 9 sounds? Was that really 9 sounds?" Chunyan couldn't even speak. He stood there in silence, emotions surging so hard he felt like crying. The principal wasn't much better off. He had never imagined that someone without money could possess such terrifying talent. Seeing Chunyan frozen in place, the principal asked, "What's wrong with you?" Chunyan finally exhaled and said, "I understand now. Everything makes sense." Without another word, he adjusted his stance and threw out a thunder rush fist of his own. The air exploded. 8 thunderous sounds rang out. The principal nearly jumped. It sounded like Chunyan had broken through. Chunyan stared at his own fist, excitement flashing across his face. He said, "Seeing that thunder rush fist just now gave me the inspiration I've been missing all these years. Without it, I might never have broken through in this lifetime." But then reality hit. This was not the time to celebrate. Chunyan urgently told the principal, "Hurry and find that student." The principal snapped out of it and actually started running. Unfortunately, by the time they reached the spot, the person was already gone. As for Su Hong, he had already achieved what he came for. While moving away, he reflected that cultivating a kank martial art was far more exhausting than the dank Vajra fist. His thunder rush fist had already reached the perfect realm. Now, the next step was figuring out how to earn more martial value points and push through to become a true martial artist as soon as possible. A life-and-death fight like the underground arena wasn't an option every time. If he could gain martial value through normal sparring, that would be much better. Not long after, he arrived at his workplace, the Raising Thunder Dojo. This was the place. Inside, students were training as usual. When they saw him, someone asked, "Why did you show up today?" Su Hong casually replied, "Nothing much was going on. I just came by to practice." Just then, a loud thud echoed across the hall. A student was sent crashing to the ground. Standing over him, another guy sneered and said, "If you dare claim my teacher teaches poorly, you should first admit your own lack of comprehension instead of making excuses." Su Hong glanced over and asked, "What's going on over there?" Someone nearby explained, "You haven't been around much lately, so you don't know what's happening. That student's teacher is a newly arrived instructor. He's extremely strong, but he looks down on ordinary people like us and teaches in a very perfunctory way," he continued. "On top of that, his disciple, a guy named Lei Yen, is also extremely strong." Right as they were talking, another student was knocked to the ground. Lin looked down at him and sneered, "With this level, you actually dared to challenge me?" Before things could get worse, Su Hong stepped in and grabbed Lian's wrist. He said, "That's enough." Lian immediately glared at him and demanded, "Who are you? If you have the guts, let go." Lin continued, "We can settle this properly in the arena, one-on-one." Su Hong didn't back down and calmly agreed. "All right." At that moment, a voice cut in and asked, "What's all this noise about? Class is about to start." Lin withdrew his hand and sneered, "You're lucky this time." Watching him leave, Su Hong couldn't help thinking that this guy was far too arrogant. Soon after, the instructor spoke up and announced, "Today is the last day I will be teaching the Raging Sea Spear technique. As usual, I will only demonstrate it once." As he took his stance, the instructor clearly didn't believe anyone could learn it from a single demonstration. Still, Su Hong watched with intense focus. For him, once was enough. His eyes locked onto every movement as the spear swept through the air. When the demonstration ended, the instructor turned to leave and said, "How much you learn depends entirely on yourselves." Complaints immediately broke out. Some students cursed and said, "A one-time demonstration is a scam." Others complained, "People in the back row couldn't even see clearly." Su Hong, however, had already grasped the essence. The spear moved like a flood dragon trampling the sea, its momentum rolling forward like endless waves. Taking up a spear himself, he began to move, perfectly replicating what he had just seen. For a moment, everyone fell silent. Then, the exclamations erupted. People shouted, "He actually learned it!" Others muttered, "This is the first time I've ever seen such a martial arts prodigy." Some bitterly wondered, "Are we just too stupid to comprehend it?" Drawn by the noise, Lian returned and asked, "Who supposedly learned the technique?" Then he saw Su Hong. Watching Su Hong's spear flow smoothly, Lin's eyes narrowed. He muttered, "It really looks like he grasped it." Interest sparked in his mind. Testing someone like this would be fun. Stepping forward, Lin called out, "Let me give you a few pointers on your spear technique." Lian snorted, grabbed his spear, twirled it, and pointed the tip toward Su Hong, clearly telling him to come on. He repeated, "I'll give you a few pointers." Su Hong simply agreed. "All right." Someone nearby hurriedly tried to stop him and warned, "Even though Lian's character is terrible, his strength is genuinely high. You shouldn't act impulsively." Su Hong smiled and said, "Don't worry." He stepped forward, picked up his own spear, and settled into position. Facing Li Yan, he politely said, "I look forward to being enlightened." That single sentence completely set Lin off. He snapped, "You're being arrogant. I'll show you the Raging Sea Spear technique at the micro level." Su Hong remained calm. As he moved his spear, he quietly adjusted his control, deliberately suppressing it in his mind. Proficient level, he had no intention of revealing everything. He only wanted the guy in front of him to clearly understand just how ridiculous he was being. The moment Su Hong's spear moved, Lin froze. That flow, that momentum, it was unmistakable. Proficient level. Raging Sea Spear technique. But no matter how hard he tried, reality refused to change. As the technique reached the proficient level, Su Hong's movements flowed like surging tides. The moment he executed the form, the opponent froze in disbelief. He muttered internally, "Impossible. A mere martial apprentice. Someone who isn't even a true martial artist yet reached this level." That was something even many seasoned practitioners couldn't achieve. Yet the scene before him was undeniably real. A system notification flashed before Su Hong's eyes. Defeated a higher-level opponent. Martial value plus 35. Su Hong thought, so it really works. Ordinary sparring can also grant martial value. That meant he didn't need to constantly risk his life. He could steadily grow stronger through proper combat. Meanwhile, the opponent's mind was in complete chaos. He thought, impossible, absolutely impossible. I trained for years, yet he reached this level in such a short time. Then what was the point of all my effort? The disbelief crushed him. Before things could escalate further, Su Hong calmly withdrew his spear and said, "That's enough." At that moment, the instructor arrived. Seeing the situation, he immediately stepped in and reprimanded the disciple. When the young man tried to protest, the instructor's expression turned cold, and he slapped him across the face. He scolded, "If you can't even face your own failure, what kind of martial artist do you think you are?" Many onlookers felt a strange sense of satisfaction at the sight. The disciple had always been arrogant, and seeing him humbled felt almost refreshing. Still, the instructor's gaze soon shifted to Su Hong, filled with disbelief. He said slowly, "Your talent is frightening. This boy may be arrogant, but meeting someone like you is also a form of fortune for him." He then cupped his hand slightly towards Su Hong and said, "Little brother, my disciple's behavior reflects my failure to teach properly. Please forgive us." Su Hong was momentarily stunned. He thought to himself, "This guy switches faces faster than flipping a page." As he left the training grounds, fatigue finally caught up with him, but it was a satisfying kind of exhaustion. He had gained far more than expected today. Not only had he mastered the Thunder Rush Fist and the Raging Sea Spear technique, but he had also earned a considerable amount of martial value. Walking through the campus of Star City No. 1 High School, he quietly reviewed everything in his mind. The entrance examination was coming soon. The wealthy students were already preparing high-grade alloy weapons. If he wanted to compete, he needed one too. The feel of the spear still lingered in his hands. He decided firmly, "I'll use a spear from now on." He needed needed to find himself a proper alloy spear, and fast. He realized the little money he had wasn't even enough to cover his aunt's medical expenses, let alone buy an alloy weapon that cost nearly 70,000. Still, he refused to give up. There had to be another way. Just then, an announcement echoed through the city, stating that ferocious beasts were appearing more frequently in the wilderness, and that the city lord was recruiting martial artists to hunt them, offering generous rewards. Hearing this, Su-hong immediately understood this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. Later, when he returned home, his aunt was still busy as always. She told him gently, "You shouldn't be working so hard. You already gave us money not long ago." His uncle shook his head and said firmly, "As long as I can still work, I won't rely on Su-hong. I'll earn what I can myself." When Su-hong entered, they greeted him warmly. He told them reassuringly, "You should rest and let me handle things. I can make money now." His uncle laughed and replied, "That sounds nice, but I can't just sit idle. I'll still earn a little for daily expenses." His aunt smiled and added, "We need to save as much as possible, so you can focus on cultivating in the future." Hearing this, Su-hong felt a tight ache in his chest. His uncle and aunt had lived frugally for so long. Unless he could truly earn enough for them to live without worry, they would never stop pushing themselves. That night, standing on the rooftop, he opened his status panel again. He knew the wilderness was dangerous, and if he wanted to go there safely, he needed more strength. He decided silently to invest everything he had into improving himself. As he poured his remaining martial value into vitality, a powerful sensation surged through his body. His blood roared, his muscles tightened, his aura grew denser and more oppressive with every increase. The number continued to rise until it finally stopped at 95.2. Standing beneath the night sky, Su-hong could feel the power coursing through him. His presence alone now carried the faint pressure of a ferocious beast ready to be unleashed. Su-hong noted quietly, his vitality had reached 95.2, just one small step away from truly becoming a martial artist. 2 days later, late at night, he lay on the floor of the training hall, completely exhausted. Every part of his body ached, but his eyes burned brightly. His martial skills had all reached completion. Thunder Rush Fist, Raging Sea Spear, Vajra Fist, Floating Light Palm, all perfected. He released a long breath and muttered with satisfaction, "I finally did it." 2 full days of non-stop cultivation had paid off. Now, it was time to move forward. The next morning, he headed toward the Star City martial artist base. When he arrived, he paused in amazement, even though he had seen this place countless times on the news. Standing here in person felt completely different. Martial artists were everywhere, filling the streets with overwhelming presence. As he walked forward, his eyes scanned the large public notice board. Non-ranked ferocious beast, 300 blue star coins. Tier 1 early stage ferocious beast, 1,000 coins. Tier 1 mid stage, 3,000 coins. Tier 1 late stage, 5,000 coins. Reading the list, Su-hong frowned slightly. The rule beneath it stated, only the left ear of the beast would be accepted as proof. Without it, no reward would be issued. He thought in surprise, so primitive. Nearby, he noticed a man speaking at the counter, asking politely, "Miss, please help me calculate how much these are worth." The man was carrying a sack, clearly filled with severed beast ears. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the entrance. Someone shouted loudly, "Move aside! Young Master Yi has arrived!" The crowd instinctively parted. Su-hong glanced over, immediately noticing the arrogant figure walking inside. Something about him felt strangely familiar. Whispers spread through the crowd. Someone muttered bitterly, "If it wasn't for his uncle being in charge here, he would have been beaten to death long ago." Another added mockingly, "I heard he got beaten badly a few days ago. Serves him right." A third voice replied curiously, "Really? No wonder he's been keeping such a low profile lately." Su-hong listened silently, then looked up again. His eyes met the man's briefly. Recognition flickered between them. The air grew tense. Su-hong couldn't help thinking, the real danger wasn't only the ferocious beasts in the wilderness, but people as well. He reminded himself firmly to stay cautious no matter what. As he prepared to leave, someone glanced at him and asked curiously, "You look pretty young. Is this your first time going into the wilderness alone?" Su-hong responded shortly, "Yes." Then he continued walking. Behind him, the man shook his head and muttered dismissively, "Another Another ignorant kid rushing toward death. Once inside the wilderness, Su-hong carefully observed his surroundings. The forest was lush, quiet, almost peaceful. Still, he warned himself not to lower his guard. He reminded himself firmly he had to return with results. He couldn't afford to come back empty-handed. 2 hours passed. As he ventured deeper, he drank some water and frowned. He hadn't encountered a single ferocious beast yet. He wondered silently if all the beasts near the outer region had already been cleared out. With that thought, he increased his pace, heading deeper into the forest. Suddenly, his expression changed. Right in front of him stood a massive figure, a ferocious beast. Its body was enormous. Its aura was oppressive. It matched exactly the description from the records. Su-hong instantly recognized it. It was a Tier 1 early-stage ferocious beast, the Azure Moon Wolf. The creature stared at him with bloodshot eyes, baring its fangs as it released a low growl. It was clearly hungry. As the wolf crouched, preparing to pounce, Su-hong inhaled deeply and steadied himself. The battle was about to begin. The wolf lunged forward, claws flashing. Su-hong reacted instantly. He dodged sideways and drove an electrified punch straight into its abdomen. The impact exploded outward, sending the beast flying violently, crashing into a tree. The wolf collapsed, barely able to move. Su-hong stood still, his fists faintly crackling with electricity. He stared at his trembling hands, feeling the lingering surge of power. He couldn't help thinking excitedly. Fighting real ferocious beasts felt far more exhilarating than anything else he had experienced. Taking down a Tier 1 early-stage beast with a single strike made his blood boil with excitement. He wondered eagerly how he would fare against a Tier 1 mid-stage beast. Almost immediately, movement stirred behind him. A massive figure emerged from the shadows. A deep, menacing growl echoed through the forest. A Tier 1 mid-stage ferocious beast. A raging black bear. The beast charged, confident it had found easy prey, but before it could strike, a blur of motion intercepted it. A lightning-infused punch slammed into its body, launching it violently to the ground. Su-hong stood calmly, lowering his fist. He realized quietly just how much stronger he had become. He concluded confidently, as long as he didn't encounter a Tier 2 ferocious beast, he wouldn't be in serious danger. He calculated quickly, another reward secured, 3,000 bounty. At that moment, a system notification appeared. It informed him his accumulated martial value was now sufficient to break through and become a martial artist. Su-hong's heart pounded violently. He had finally reached the threshold, but before he could celebrate, a terrifying roar exploded through the forest. The pressure alone made his skin crawl. His expression hardened instantly. He turned toward the source, eyes narrowing. Whatever produced that roar was far stronger than anything he had faced so far. Curiosity and caution clashed violently in his mind, but curiosity won. He moved carefully toward the sound. Soon, he reached a towering rock formation and climbed it. What he saw stole his breath. Below, a colossal creature coiled among the trees, a massive black-scaled serpent, a Tier 1 late-stage ferocious beast, the black jade python. Its enormous body radiated terrifying aura. Nearby, several martial artists were already fighting it, and losing badly. One after another, they were sent flying helplessly. Su-hong stared at the scene, heart-hammering. This battle was on an entirely different level. Suddenly, danger instincts screamed. He leapt aside instantly. The python's spiked tail smashed down where he had just been standing, shattering the ground violently. The beast hissed angrily. Furious its prey had escaped, Su-hong barely landed before jumping again, narrowly dodging another sweeping strike. Even so, the sheer speed grazed him, sending shock through his body. He realized grimly just how terrifyingly fast this creature was. While steadying himself, he noticed another fighter nearby, gravely injured and unable to move. Ignoring his own pain, Su-hong grabbed the fallen warrior's weapon. He muttered quickly, "I'll borrow this for a moment." Then he turned back toward the beast. The massive python reared up, jaws opening wide, preparing another lethal strike. Su-hong barely rolled away in time, and the battle was far from over. As he regained his footing, his thoughts raced. A Tier 1 late-stage ferocious beast normally required several martial artists working together to take down. Yet, he had already reached the point where he could fight one head-on. He realized realized this was because all of his martial skills had reached the perfected state. Using his perfected void step, he darted around the battlefield, dodging the beast's attacks with blinding speed. Then he launched a counterattack, driving his spear forward with the raging sea spear technique. The blow pierced the beast's hide, drawing a furious roar from its throat. The python thrashed violently, raging from the pain. Su-hong didn't relent. He struck again, his movements fluid and precise, forcing the massive creature into a frenzy. Still, he knew the truth. Its body was enormous, and landing a single decisive blow wouldn't be easy. The difference in size made it difficult to strike a fatal spot. As he maneuvered, he reminded himself to stay patient. He needed to weaken it first and wait for the right opening. Just then, the beast lashed out again, its massive body crashing toward him with overwhelming force. In response, Su-hong unleashed his thunderous fist, perfectly executed. The explosive force collided head-on with the beast's attack, stopping it in its tracks. The shockwave rippled through the air as both figures staggered back. The battle was far from over. Su-hong knew. Once he landed a successful strike, he couldn't afford to linger. He had to immediately pull back, widen the distance, and search for another opening. One mistake would be fatal. That was the price of facing a creature like this. He could feel his breathing growing heavier with every exchange. Fighting this way was exhausting, but it was also the safest option he had. Still, as the battle dragged on, even he could sense his stamina starting to dip. At the same time, the black jade python wasn't faring much better. Its movements were becoming sluggish, its breath rough and uneven. Su-hong realized the beast was also nearing its limit. He thought firmly, just a little more. If I can keep this up, I can finish it. He steadied himself, preparing for the next exchange, fully focused on the beast in front of him. Then, without warning, a dangerous chill ran down his spine. Something was wrong. Before he could react, a violent force slammed into him from the side. The impact sent him flying, his body crashing hard against the ground. His breath was knocked out instantly. He forced himself to roll over, barely managing to block the next blow. Even so, the impact rattled his bones. He realized too late. He had been ambushed. Struggling to his feet, he demanded, "Who's there?" From the shadows, several figures stepped forward. One of them laughed loudly, clearly enjoying the situation. He mocked him and said, "How does it feel to be caught off guard?" Then he added coldly, "Why don't you hand over the black jade python, and maybe we'll spare you." Su-hong's eyes narrowed as he recognized the speaker. His heart sank slightly. Trouble had truly arrived. Su-hong found himself surrounded by a group of goons, people who already had history with him. The leader sneered and said, "When I saw you daring to leave the city alone, I thought you'd definitely die out here." He smirked and continued, "I didn't expect your luck to be this good." He glanced at the injured python nearby and said greedily, "Not only did you survive, you even scavenged a heavily injured black jade python for me." Su-hong analyzed the situation quickly. If they thought he had simply picked it up, then they must have just arrived. He noticed all 5 of them were martial artists. They had the numbers advantage. Fighting them head-on would be suicide. Suddenly, one of the enemies rushed forward, fist raised. He shouted arrogantly, "Didn't you hear young Master Yi? He wants this python." He sneered and added, "Why are you still standing here? Scram already." Seeing this, Su-hong's anger surged. He channeled aura into his hand, his presence turning sharp and oppressive. He said coldly, "You think I was knocked back because I'm weak?" Then he continued, "That was just a sneak attack." He stepped forward and declared, "Do you really think I can't beat you?" Su-hong threw a punch straight at the enemy. Their fists collided, releasing a violent surge of energy that blasted outward. The enemy's expression changed in shock. He thought in terror. Su-hong's power was far stronger than expected, but Su-hong didn't stop. He followed with another punch, smashing directly into the enemy's face, sending him flying across the battlefield, crashing in front of the other goons. The leader narrowed his eyes and muttered, "That's the Vajra fist." Then he smirked and said, "So it really is you, Minotaur." Despite his words, the leader was clearly shaken. Su-hong stared back coldly, recognizing him immediately. He said quietly, "White Fox." White Fox's expression twisted with fury. He shouted angrily, "In front of everyone, you humiliated me!" Then he growled, "You're the first person who ever dared to do that!" His aura flared violently as he barked, "Kill him! All of you! Take him down!" The goons rushed forward with their weapons. Su-hong reacted instantly, grabbing his spear and sprinting deeper into the wilderness. White Fox shouted furiously, "Don't let him escape! Chase him!" The group scattered through the forest, searching every possible hiding place. After a while, one of them said nervously, nervously. "We can't find him? Where did he go?" Another warned cautiously. "The forest ahead is dense. We could get ambushed. Stay alert." One of them scoffed and said, "We've got numbers. Are we really scared of one guy?" Suddenly, a blur flashed behind him at terrifying speed. He turned instinctively. It was Su Hong. Before he could react, Su Hong slammed a devastating punch into him, sending him flying straight toward White Fox. The man collapsed, completely unconscious. White Fox stared in disbelief, wondering how Su Hong could be so fast. The remaining goons immediately formed a defensive circle, terrified of being the next target. One of them stammered, "That's Thunder Rush Fist, the 9-Echo Thunder Rush Fist." Another whispered in horror, "Even Tier 3 martial artists can't perfect that technique." White Fox snapped angrily, "Shut up!" Inside, he was already panicking. He thought frantically, perfected Vajra Fist and perfected Thunder Rush Fist shouldn't be possible. What he didn't know was that Su Hong was hiding silently in a tree above them, watching everything. To him, they looked like rats scrambling, while a predator stalked them patiently. He thought calmly, if he hadn't just exhausted so much vitality fighting the python, he could crush them head on. For now, he had to hunt them one by one. He suddenly threw his spear. The weapon landed violently nearby, startling the group. As they turned toward the spear, Su Hong appeared instantly, grabbing one of them and striking. After the attack, he vanished again into the forest. The remaining goons were now completely terrified. One of them said desperately, "Young Master Yi, he's too strong. We should retreat." White Fox's pride flared violently. He shouted angrily, "Run! That's a joke!" Then he declared, "I will kill Su Hong today." Meanwhile, Su Hong moved around them at incredible speed. They couldn't track him, couldn't even see him clearly. Suddenly, he rushed past them again. White Fox started to speak, but another goon was grabbed instantly, slammed brutally into the ground, and left unconscious. Su Hong disappeared once more. White Fox's fear deepened, mixing with growing rage. He thought bitterly. Only a few days had passed, yet this kid had become monstrously stronger. Suddenly, Su Hong flashed behind him. White Fox spun around instantly, but saw nothing. He cursed loudly and said, "There's no way Su Hong could—" Before he could finish, Su Hong appeared behind him again. Su Hong thought coldly. It was finally his turn. White Fox reacted instantly, gathering aura into his finger. He shouted, "Void-breaking finger!" Su Hong dodged immediately, leaping forward. Behind him, the tree that took the attack exploded into splinters, completely destroyed. White Fox attacked again and again, firing beam-like strikes while shouting, "Void-breaking finger!" But no matter how many times he attacked, Su Hong dodged every single strike effortlessly. While evading, Su Hong analyzed the technique. He thought with interest. The power was incredible. The grade of this martial skill definitely wasn't low. He wondered silently, could it be a bank-level technique? He smirked faintly. Then he thought calmly. He might want to add something like this to his own skill set someday. However, the man standing before him, whose finger glowed with a chilling blue aura, was far from calm. His face twisted with rage. He thought bitterly. That stinking brat had already burned his face into his memory. He swore viciously, "If Su Hong dares to hurt me, once I return, I will wipe out his entire family." The moment Su Hong heard those words, they echoed violently inside his mind. His expression froze. Then, fury exploded inside him, threatening his family and was something he would never accept. He repeated the words in disbelief, then vanished forward in a swift dodging motion, charging straight toward White Fox. White Fox sneered arrogantly and said, "Do you even know who I am?" He continued proudly, "My uncle is the supervisor of the martial artist base, and my father is someone extremely important." Before he could finish, Su Hong was already standing right behind him. A terrifying aura pressed down like a collapsing mountain. For a moment, Su Hong said nothing. His fist gathered terrifying power, his silence more suffocating than words. Then he spoke coldly and said, "I preferred how you looked earlier, acting arrogant and high above everyone else." He stepped closer and added, "This terrified version of you doesn't suit you." His voice dropped lower as he finished. "But I'm still going to enjoy this." His fist shot forward. The punch smashed directly into White Fox's face. The impact was devastating. White Fox's body was launched violently through the forest, smashing through trees, before crashing heavily into the ground. Smoke and dust exploded into the air. When the smoke finally cleared, Su-hong walked toward him slowly, his face filled with murderous fury, a crimson aura swirling around his body. He said coldly, "You should never have used my family to threaten me." White Fox lay on the ground, coughing blood, his body trembling from the damage. He stared in disbelief and asked weakly, "Why are you this strong?" He shouted in desperation, "This is impossible! You're not even a martial artist!" His voice cracked as he demanded, "What are you?" Behind him, the massive black jade python lifted its head, locking its cold gaze onto White Fox. Drawn by his voice, White Fox suddenly felt a terrifying chill. Slowly, he turned around. His eyes widened in horror. The python's tail lashed forward, while its massive jaws opened wide. Moments later, White Fox disappeared beneath its attack. After dealing with him, the python shifted its full attention toward Su-hong. Su-hong's expression hardened. He realized he had spent too long fighting the goons. The python had recovered its stamina. Now, it was ready for another battle, and this time, it held the advantage. Elsewhere, the remaining goons groaned in pain, furious and humiliated. One of them cursed angrily, "That brat is completely insane." Another asked nervously, "Where's young Master Yi? Did he finish that kid off?" Suddenly, their expressions froze. They saw Su-hong sprinting straight toward them again. They immediately prepared for battle. One shouted angrily, "That brat finally showed himself!" Another roared, "This time, I won't spare him." Su-hong didn't even glance at them. He ran straight forward and said calmly, "Move or die." A second later, they understood why. Behind him, the giant python burst through the forest, radiating overwhelming fury. The group froze speechless. The python lunged toward Su-hong. Su-hong leapt aside instantly, spear in hand, narrowly dodging the strike. One unlucky martial artist reacted too slowly. The python devoured him instantly. A notification appeared. Opponent martial artist indirectly eliminated, 30 martial value gained. Another attack followed. Another victim fell. Opponent martial artist indirectly eliminated, 30 martial value gained. Su-hong blinked in slight surprise. He thought he never expected to gain martial value this way, but the python attacked again before he could think further. Su-hong leapt upward, dodging the sweeping tail once more. The python adapted quickly, using its massive body to trap him from multiple angles. Still, Su-hong continued moving, dodging relentlessly. As he fought and ran, Su-hong suddenly realized something shocking. After all these battles, his martial value had already reached the breakthrough threshold. He dashed rapidly between trees, frustrating the python further. No matter how fiercely it attacked, it couldn't catch him. While running, Su-hong thought urgently, if only he could find a safe place to break through. Then, suddenly, he spotted a small cave ahead. His eyes lit up. He muttered, "Perfect." He sprinted straight toward it. The python chased closely behind. Just as it prepared to strike, Su-hong dove into the cave. The python tried to follow, but its massive body became stuck at the entrance. It roared violently in frustration. Inside, Su-hong calmly opened his system panel. Name, Su-hong Vitality, 96 Spirit, 23, Physique, Mortal Body, 3% Skills, Raging Sea Spear, Perfect Thunder Rush Fist, Perfect Vajra Fist, Perfect Floating Light Palm, Perfect Void Step, Perfect Martial Value, 504. Without hesitation, he began tapping the system repeatedly. He whispered urgently, "Faster, faster." He poured everything into Vitality. Heat surged through his body, like molten magma replacing his blood. Soon, Vitality reached 100. Even the python outside sensed the terrifying change, becoming restless. A notification appeared. Breakthrough successful. Tier 1, Martial Artist achieved. Su-hong clenched his fists, aura exploding around him. He stared at the python and said calmly, "Now, it's my turn." For the first time, the python felt fear. It tried to retreat, but Su-hong gave it no chance. He launched forward, delivering an overwhelming punch. Trapped inside the cave entrance, the python couldn't escape. The blow smashed into it, launching its massive body through the air. Su-hong followed immediately. He leapt onto its tail, using it as footing, then unleashed a relentless Vajra Fist barrage. Punch after punch crashed down, slamming the creature into the ground. Smoke filled the battlefield. When it cleared, Su Hong stood atop the defeated python, victorious. A notification appeared. Martial value increased by 92. Su Hong exhaled slowly and said, "Even injured, that beast was still dangerous." Then he muttered thoughtfully, "But now, I can face it head on." He soon frowned slightly and said, "Wait, how am I supposed to claim the reward?" He remembered the rule about cutting off the left ear, then sighed. He said dryly, "Snakes don't have ears." Great. After thinking briefly, he decided to ignore it and head back. As he left, the forest fell silent. Only destruction remained. Passing the fallen goons, he glanced at them coldly and said, "You got off easy." While walking, he suddenly remembered something. He thought about White Fox's technique. Soon, he located the skill manual. He murmured with interest, "Void-breaking finger." He smiled faintly and decided to study it. He remained near the cave, lighting a fire, sitting beside the python's corpse. After memorizing the introduction, he activated the system. Soon, a clone appeared, attacking him repeatedly using void-breaking finger. During the intense training, his mastery climbed rapidly. 51%, 63%, 77%, 93%. Soon, the technique entered the basic realm. Su Hong coughed weakly, exhaustion evident. He said hoarsely, "As expected, of a B-rank martial skill." He added, "Even reaching the basic realm is brutal on the body." 3 days later, Su Hong stood before a massive roaring bear. Using void-breaking finger, he fought head-on, eventually killing it. After the battle, he smiled and said, "Perfect realm, achieved." A notification confirmed it. Void-breaking finger, perfect mastery. Later, at the martial artist base, a massive crowd gathered. Someone shouted in shock, 230,000 total? Another exclaimed, "The Thunder Squad is terrifying." One added, "That's months of hunting worth." Another gasped, "Not a single non-ranked beast, all tier 1, even high stage ones." The receptionist trembled while announcing, 72 tier 1 early stage, 83 middle stage, 17 late stage. Total reward, 46,000 blue star coins. Standing quietly, Su Hong sighed internally. He thought uneasily. He might have hunted far too many beasts. He muttered inwardly, if he had known, he would have held back. Now, he could only hope this didn't attract unnecessary trouble. Around him, the entire crowd erupted into chaos, completely stunned by the numbers. The scene opens with chaos swallowing the martial artist base. Panic spreads like wildfire as warriors rush forward, shouting that the base has been attacked. Confusion floods the crowd. With so many high-level martial artists guarding the area, an attack should have been impossible. Yet the impossible has already happened. Then, silence begins to spread. A figure slowly steps forward. First, a pair of hands appears, followed by a cold, commanding presence. It's Yiki, the overseer of the base, and Yong's uncle. Without hesitation, Yiki issues a ruthless order. The entire base is to be sealed. No one enters, no one leaves, not even a fly is allowed to escape. His subordinates obey instantly. Moments later, another supervisor arrives and demands answers. Yiki delivers the news without emotion. Yong and the 4 martial artists who accompanied him are dead. The crowd freezes. Shock ripples through the warriors as whispers begin spreading. Some express disbelief that Yong could actually be killed. Others, however, secretly celebrate his death, remembering the countless times he abused his power and robbed those weaker than him. But the situation quickly grows darker. Yiki reveals that a B-rank martial skill carried by Yong has disappeared and immediately orders a full search of every martial artist inside the base. No one is allowed to leave until the culprit is found. Among the crowd stands Su Hong. On the surface, he remains calm, but deep inside, tension slowly tightens around his chest. The corpses clearly show signs of being killed by a giant python, meaning suspicion shouldn't fall on him. Yet as the investigation continues, the atmosphere begins shifting. Warriors glance toward him. Whispers follow his movements, and then it happens. Yiki himself begins walking directly toward Su Hong. His voice sounds polite, almost respectful. He praises Su Hong for single-handedly repeatedly killing ferocious beasts worth over 400,000 credits. But the crimson aura radiating from his body tells the real story. Yiki is furious, and Su Hong realizes something terrifying. This man may already suspect him. Still, Su Hong shows no fear. In fact, a dangerous thought crosses his mind. If things truly escalate, could he defeat Yiki? Before the tension can settle, another figure steps forward, Yong's father. He repeats the rumors about Su Hong's achievements, sounding impressed, until a woman beside him tears the praise apart. She mocks Su Hong's appearance and declares it impossible for someone at his level to achieve such feats. She accuses him of scavenging Yong's kills and immediately orders his search. Two massive warriors step forward, flames gathering in their hands. They warn Su Hong not to resist, but in the next heartbeat, everything changes. A spear suddenly appears, aimed directly at one warrior's skull. No one saw Su Hong move. The warrior freezes in terror. Su Hong calmly states his identity as a student of Star City High's #1 academy, a place protected by a notoriously ruthless principal. The tension instantly shifts. Yong's father hesitates. If Su Hong truly is a genius, offending him could create powerful enemies. But if he's lying, letting him go would be unacceptable. Choosing caution, he explains that his nephew was murdered and their family's secret technique stolen. He requests cooperation, offering 10,000 credits as compensation. Su Hong immediately counters, 30,000. The bold demand shocks everyone, yet after a brief silence, the man agrees. The search begins. Every item is inspected, every pocket checked. Su Hong watches calmly, knowing that he already erased every trace of evidence. Moments later, the result is announced. Nothing found. True to his word, Yong's father pays Su Hong and allows him to leave. As Su Hong walks away, relief washes over him. One small mistake today, and he would have died alongside Yong. But Su Hong has no time to relax. He already has his next objective. He needs to become stronger, fast. Later, inside the underground hotel of the martial artist base, Su Hong finally checks his system status. The result surprises even him. 534 martial points, an enormous amount earned through relentless training and hunting. His stats reveal overwhelming progress. Multiple martial techniques have reached perfection. His vitality already surpasses the requirement for rank 1 early stage. But Su Hong wants more, much more. He calculates the cost of reaching the next stage and begins investing his points. First, spirit. The numbers rise steadily, yet he feels almost nothing. Then, he upgrades his mortal frame. This time, the transformation is immediate. Power surges through his muscles. His body grows denser, stronger, more dangerous. He continues upgrading until his points are nearly exhausted, then pours everything else into vitality. Suddenly, a violent crimson aura explodes around him. Energy floods his veins like a raging storm. His body swells with terrifying power before slowly stabilizing. When the transformation ends, Su Hong exhales in relief. If anyone had witnessed that monstrous form, questions he couldn't answer would have followed. 1 hour later, Su Hong arrives at the Star City Martial Artist Association, a massive complex where warriors either rise or have their dreams shattered forever. At reception, he calmly registers for the Rank 1 assessment. The staff member guiding him explains the requirements. Vitality must exceed 100. Combat power must surpass 1,000. Simple rules, but rules that destroy countless hopeful warriors every year. Inside the testing hall, the atmosphere is tense. Young talents gather, some arrogant, some nervous, all desperate to prove themselves. An announcement suddenly echoes through the hall. A candidate named Panga fails, missing the requirement by only a few points. The disappointment is crushing. Moments later, another warrior, Li Ming, passes the vitality test and delivers a devastating punch, scoring 1,763 combat power, nearly reaching mid-stage rank 1 strength. The crowd erupts in admiration. Su Hong watches quietly, calculating, analyzing, preparing. Then his name is called. He steps forward, confident Confidence radiates from him, but nearby competitors sneer, believing he's too young to stand among them. That confidence lasts only seconds, because when the vitality scanner activates, the entire hall explodes into chaos. Shock spreads like wildfire. Some believe the machine is broken. Others stare in disbelief as the result is announced. Su-hong, vitality 123. He passes instantly. The arrogant candidate who mocked him stands frozen, struggling to accept reality. But he quickly convinces himself that vitality means nothing without combat power. Deep down, he still clings to the belief that he can surpass Su-hong. And as Su-hong prepares for the next stage of testing, the air grows heavy. Because this is no longer just an assessment. It's the beginning of something far more dangerous. The combat power test finally begins. The staff officer announces the next phase, and Su-hong is escorted toward the punching machine. As he stands before the device, Su-hong quietly analyzes his own strength. He has already broken through into the realm of a true martial artist, and after upgrading his physique, his raw physical power has skyrocketed beyond normal limits. Inside his mind, he calculates carefully. Using 40% of his strength should be enough to pass, but doubt creeps in. If he underestimates the test, failure is still possible. After a brief pause, he makes a decision. 50%, that should be safe. Su-hong pulls back his fist and punches. The moment his strike lands, the world seems to freeze. The force behind the blow is monstrous. Even at half power, the pressure alone feels overwhelming. The punching machine is launched straight across the testing hall, smashing violently into the wall before exploding into shattered metal and broken parts. Silence follows. Absolute silence. Then, chaos erupts. The crowd stares in disbelief. Some struggle to even process what they just witnessed. One spectator mutters that Su-hong destroyed the tester with a single punch, calling his power terrifying. Another voice shouts that Su-hong didn't even use a martial technique. Someone else screams that the standard combat power of a rank 1 high-stage martial artist is only 3,000, and that what just happened completely defies logic. A teacher nearby whispers in shock, recognizing Su-hong once again, calling him an absolute monster. Elsewhere, inside a private office, a woman sits behind a desk, reviewing reports with visible irritation. She is Wu Lingsen, the president of the Star City Martial Artist Association. She complains bitterly about Yong City's branch, constantly bragging about their new geniuses. She curses their arrogance, frustrated that Star City hasn't produced talent strong enough to compete. If things continue like this, her position itself could be at risk. Suddenly, the office door bursts open. A staff member rushes inside, shouting that a monster has appeared during the martial artist assessment. Startled by the noise, Wu Lingsen glares sharply at him. The man quickly explains himself, describing a rank 1 early-stage martial artist who destroyed the combat tester using nothing but raw physical strength, reaching combat power equivalent to 3,000. Even Wu Lingsen finds the claim difficult to believe, but deep inside, she senses opportunity. Back in the central hall of the Martial Artist Association, people move everywhere. Warriors talk, guards patrol, injured fighters limp through the hall, while others observe quietly. 2 staff members escort Su-hong, explaining that they will register his martial artist identity on the 2nd floor before helping him collect his allowance. Su-hong thanks them politely. But before they can leave, another voice interrupts. A woman steps forward calmly, declaring that Su-hong is finished here and that she will personally handle him. The staff member freezes in shock, realizing who just appeared, the president herself. Wu Lingsen explains that this matter is too important to leave to others. She turns towards Su-hong and confirms his identity, introducing herself before ordering him to follow her. Su-hong respectfully agrees, though internally he is surprised. Rumors described her as an A-tier rank 5 martial artist, yet her presence feels far more overwhelming than he expected. Later, inside the president's office, the two sit facing each other. Wu Lingsen reveals that Su-hong's background has already reached her ears. She even mentions that Li Chongshan had once complained that Star City No. 1 High School only produced 2 ordinary Tier 1 martial artists, completely unaware that a genius like Su-hong existed among them. Su-hong grows slightly nervous, asking why he was summoned. He explains that he only intended to register officially and receive his allowance along with a guidance technique. Wu Lingsen waves her hand dismissively. His ID and allowance have already been arranged. As for the guidance technique, she will personally teach him. Standing before him, she asks how much he understands about guidance techniques. Su-hong recalls textbook knowledge, explaining that heaven and earth's spiritual energy contains attributes, and that guidance techniques allow martial artists to absorb those attributes to strengthen their bodies. Wu Lingxin nods, then raises her hand. A flame ignites in her palm. She explains that guidance techniques are not merely cultivation tools. The heavenly flame. Guidance technique she practices absorbs fire attribute spiritual energy, enhancing both her body and her attack power. At higher mastery levels, attribute energy can even be released externally, extending attack range. However, she clarifies that for rank 1 martial artists, even carrying a faint trace of attribute energy is already considered exceptional. Su-hong admits he never knew guidance techniques could also be used offensively. Wu Lingxin continues teaching him, revealing that heaven and earth's spiritual energy contains 7 attributes: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, wind. In terms of pure destructive power, thunder ranks first, followed by metal, then fire. But compatibility determines which attribute a martial artist can cultivate. She produces a crystal sphere. This artifact measures compatibility levels. The brighter the glow, the higher the compatibility. Ordinary martial artists usually possess 20 to 30% compatibility. Wu Lingxin herself possesses 80%, already considered extraordinary, and she confidently predicts that Su-hong, as a rare genius, will likely surpass 90%. Su-hong accepts the crystal ball, reflecting on her achievements and imagining the possibility of reaching 90% himself. Then, the sphere begins glowing, brighter and brighter, until it becomes completely filled with light. Wu Lingxin freezes. Fire attribute compatibility, 100%. She steps closer, explaining with rising excitement that this means Su-hong can absorb fire spiritual energy without losing even a trace. She admits that even her 80% compatibility allowed her to reach rank 5, meaning Su-hong's future could surpass anything she has achieved. As she praises him, Su-hong grows more nervous. Inside his mind, however, he quietly admits that while fire is impressive, he prefers thunder. And then, the crystal sphere changes. Lightning erupts within the sphere, filling it completely once again. Thunder attribute compatibility, 100%. Wu Lingxin loses her composure entirely. Before she can recover, the sphere changes again. Wind attribute also 100%. Minutes later, Wu Lingxin collapses onto her couch, staring blankly at the results. Her mind spirals between disbelief and existential shock. She questions whether she is dreaming, realizing that what stands before her is an existence beyond logic itself. She reflects bitterly that she once believed herself a once-in-a-generation genius, but compared to Su-hong, she is nothing more than ordinary. Su-hong calmly confirms the results, all 7 attributes, each one at 100% compatibility. Then, he raises a troubling thought. If he cultivates only thunder, abandoning the other 6 attributes would be an unbearable waste. With complete sincerity and absolute calm, Su-hong looks at the president and makes an outrageous request. He asks her to give him guidance techniques for all 7 attributes. And in that moment, even the president of Star City realizes that she is standing before a being destined to shatter every known rule of the martial world. The president falls into silence. For a brief moment, she simply stares at Su-hong, as if trying to process the absurd level of talent standing before her. Then, she finally speaks. She explains that human energy is limited. No matter how monstrous Su-hong's natural gifts are, attempting to cultivate too many attributes at once is extremely dangerous. She reveals that in the past, there was once a genius who attempted to cultivate all 7 guidance techniques simultaneously. Decades passed, yet that person remained trapped as nothing more than a Tier 1 martial artist, a wasted legend, a talent buried by ambition. Su-hong listens carefully, but hesitation fills his heart. He admits honestly that he cannot make such a decision right now. Instead, he asks for permission to attempt cultivating all of them first, before deciding which path to fully commit to later. The president studies him for a long moment, before finally nodding. She agrees, but her voice turns deadly serious as she warns him. He must never waste his talent, never squander the blessing he was born with. Then, she suddenly changes the subject. She asks if his school's monthly examination is approaching. Su-hong confirms that it is, confused by her sudden interest. The president reveals the truth. Recently, tensions on the battlefield of the 11 realms have been escalating rapidly. The fragile balance between the 10,000 races and humanity is beginning to collapse. War, another catastrophic war, could erupt at any moment. Because of this looming disaster, every nation has begun pouring unimaginable resources into building a secret genius training camp designed to forge the strongest warriors humanity can produce. She looks directly into Su-hong's eyes and reveals her intention. She wants to personally recommend him, but there is a condition. He must take first place in his school's monthly examination. Only then can she secure him a place. The weight of her words pulls Su-hong deep into his past. Memories surface. A war more than a decade ago. A battlefield soaked in blood, a childhood shattered overnight. He remembers losing every relative he had, except for his uncle and aunt, the only family who survived with him. Silently, Su-hong nods. He accepts, but inside his heart, he makes a vow. He promises that he will never allow that kind of tragedy to happen again. No matter the cost, he will become strong enough to protect everyone he loves. That night, back at his home, Su-hong bursts through the door with barely contained excitement. He proudly announces that he has officially become a registered martial artist. Before presenting his credentials, the moment his uncle and aunt see the proof, they break down into tears. His uncle trembles with pride as he says that little Hong truly succeeded, that their boy finally achieved something incredible. His aunt cries openly, praising him and repeating how proud she is, calling him her capable and reliable little Hong. Su-hong smiles warmly before revealing another piece of news. He explains that Tier 1 martial artists receive a monthly allowance of 10,000 credits, meaning his uncle no longer has to exhaust himself working endlessly just to support the family. His uncle stares at him, eyes filled with emotion, before quietly declaring that Su-hong has become the pillar of their family, and that from now on, he will follow whatever Su-hong decides. Those words hit Su-hong deeply. Inside his heart, he silently swears. From this moment forward, he will carry the entire family on his shoulders. Later that night, the house falls silent. Su-hong sits alone, meditating in complete darkness. Hours pass. When he finally opens his eyes, a crimson glow burns within them. He slowly clenches his fist, and faint smoke begins rising from his hand. He studies the phenomenon carefully, wondering if this is the basic manifestation of a guidance technique. But something feels strange. There is no destructive power, no explosive force, only presence. Then suddenly, his system interface appears. A new column materializes. Guidance technique. Realization strikes him instantly. He actually succeeded in learning it. Checking the details, he notices something shocking. The technique displays a level indicator. Level 1. Su-hong freezes. A terrifying thought begins forming in his mind. Guidance techniques. Can they be leveled up? President Wu never mentioned anything like that. And if such a possibility existed, someone of her experience would absolutely know about it, which leads him to a far more disturbing possibility. Maybe he is the only one capable of leveling it up. Maybe he is destined to walk a path no martial artist has ever walked before. A path of solitary evolution. A path of absolute domination. If you're excited to discover just how far Su-hong can push his power, then stay tuned, because his rise has only just begun. Su-hong stared at the system interface, still unable to wrap his head around one thing: how guidance techniques were actually upgraded. He tried pouring martial value into it the same way he had done with his other skills. The system responded instantly with a warning, saying his martial value wasn't enough. Seeing that, he didn't push further. There was no point forcing it. He reasoned that it made more sense to slow down, focus on cultivation first, fully grasp every guidance technique, and then worry about earning more martial value later. With his plan set, he settled into cultivation. He worked on all the guidance techniques at once. Almost immediately, a fierce blazing aura burst out from his body. Hours passed in silence. One after another, the thunder guidance technique, water marsh guidance technique, thick earth guidance technique, and spirit wind guidance technique all reached reached level 1. Inside him, 7 different spiritual keys now existed together. The problem showed itself right away. The energies didn't cooperate. They pushed against each other aggressively. At that moment, Su-hong finally understood what President Wu had warned him about. There really had been geniuses in the past who tried cultivating 7 techniques at once and never moved beyond Tier 1. The energy inside his body turned violent. Pain spread as his veins stood out sharply and sweat streamed down his face. Even though all 7 attributes were present, he realized he could only activate 1 at a time. The instant he tried to use 2 together, the energies clashed, wiped each other out, and vanished. A red flame burst from his palm, lasting only a heartbeat before breaking apart. He focused again, and lightning surged instead. Su-hong narrowed his eyes. Fire and lightning were naturally close in nature. Could they really not be combined? He tried again. The result was the same. Annoyance crept in, but he didn't stop. He tried again and again. Time slipped by unnoticed until the sky began to lighten. His breathing turned rough, his clothes soaked, his arms shaking from fatigue, but he kept going. Lightning surged once more. This time he forcefully dragged the fire along with it. Energy exploded outward as he pushed through with everything he had, and finally it worked. After an entire night of non-stop attempts, lightning and fire fused into a single force. Without wasting time, Su-hong decided to test it properly. He headed straight to the Star City Martial Arts Square. This time he chose a Tier 3 combat power tester, not interested in repeating his past mistake of destroying equipment. Previously, using only half his strength, he had hit 3,000 combat power. Now, he limited himself to just 30%. He threw a punch. The number jumped past 2,300. Su-hong paused. By his estimate, it should have been closer to 1,800. That was nearly a 500-point difference. If pure lightning already gave results like this, what would happen when combined with fire? Energy gathered again in his palm. When he struck, the tester shook hard as the number shot past 3,000. A small smile appeared as he looked at his hand. With Thunderfire combined and only 30% output, he had already surpassed a high-stage Tier 1 martial artist, and his vitality was only 123. That kind of potential felt overwhelming, and this was with just 2 attributes. His thoughts immediately jumped ahead. What if he combined all 7? Lightning crackled and flames swirled in his palm as he made his next decision. He would attempt 3 attributes next. Later, on the rooftop of his home, Su-hong lay flat, shirtless, staring at the sky. After countless intense attempts, he finally accepted the truth. Merging 3 attributes was far harder than merging 2, several times harder. No matter how he adjusted or experimented, there was no real progress. That was when the answer clicked. The issue wasn't his control, it was the level of his guidance technique. He checked the system again. All of them were still stuck at level 1, and the monthly exam was tomorrow. For now, what he needed most was more martial value. The next morning, Star City No. 1 High School was packed. Students filled every corner. The principal announced that today's exam would be different. Due to rising pressure on the front lines, a large-scale genius training camp was being set up to prepare for future conflict. The rewards were insane. Top-tier resources, martial arts manuals, pills, and even grandmasters as instructors. The top 3 students in this exam would earn a spot in Star City's training camp. The crowd erupted, "A genius training camp." Someone whispered that one of the instructors was a Tier 7 grandmaster. That alone sounded unreal, especially when the principal himself was only Tier 3. Ambition lit up faces across the field. Su-hong focused on one detail only: top 3. Ranking high wasn't enough. A friend moved up beside him and dropped some unexpected news. Shen Shan and Li, too, had both broken into Tier 1. Many students had reached the basic level of Thunder Rush Fist. Su-hong had been gone for 10 days, and during that time, breakthroughs had piled up. There were even rumors of special training arranged by the principal. Shin Shan and Liu both had vitality over 100 now, and their Thunder Rush attacks produced 3 echoes. Shin Shan openly told Liu he'd prove who the real strongest was. Liu shot back that after slamming Shen Shan into the ground, he hoped the confidence would still be there. As the principal stepped down, an instructor asked quietly whether they had found the genius who used the 9 Echo Thunder Rush Fist. The principal replied that he'd searched everywhere and believed that person person wasn't a student here. Before the conversation could continue, a group approached. The man in front spoke with a mocking tone, asking why the principal looked so miserable. It was Jiang Ming. The principal frowned and asked what he was doing on campus. Jiang Ming casually replied that this year's students didn't look impressive and brought along 2 disciples, joking about sparring with the school's top students after the exam. The principal immediately understood this was public humiliation. Refusing would only confirm weakness. Before he could answer, Jiang Ming added that he'd understand if the principal declined. After all, the students looked fragile. An instructor snapped back, asking if Jiang Ming was picking a fight. The exchange stopped abruptly when someone leaned in and whispered something to Jiang Ming, pointing toward the crowd. Jiang Ming followed the direction and spotted Su Hong standing calmly among the students, a faint smile on his face. Recognition hit instantly, so he really was from number 1 high school. Jiang Ming cursed inwardly and gestured to his disciples. Facing that boy meant guaranteed loss. Rather than embarrass himself, he laughed it off, saying he'd only been joking. There was no competition at all. His disciples played along, pretending to back down. The principal and instructor were furious. Soon after, the exam officially began. The first match was announced: number 665, Shangpong versus number 666, Su Hong. As they stepped onto the stage, Su Hong's friend grew nervous. Shang Ping was a quasi-martial artist known for raw strength. A teacher shouted a reminder not to push too hard. Injuries weren't worth it. Before the match even started, Shang Ping smirked and asked whether Su Hong planned to fall on his own or be slammed down. In the next moment, Su Hong disappeared. Before anyone could react, he appeared behind Shang Ping, grabbed him with one hand, and drove him straight into the floor. The arena went quiet. His friend and the teacher stared, swearing softly. They couldn't understand when Su Hong had reached this level. One move, complete victory. As the dust settled, Su Hong stood alone at the center of the stage. Su Hong stood calmly, towering over his defeated opponent. The arena fell into stunned silence for a split second, before the crowd erupted in disbelief. Students shouted in shock, some yelling, "How did he become this strong?" Others whispered nervously, "He might already be a Tier 1 martial artist." The announcer quickly regained composure and declared loudly that the final match would begin soon. In the stands, Instructor Chen stared intensely at Su Hong, his brows furrowed in confusion. He muttered under his breath, "Where did this student even come from? And why has he never attended private tutoring?" Beside him, Principal Lee clenched his fists in regret and sighed heavily. He admitted bitterly, "I failed to notice such a talent. I wasted precious time that could have shaped him even further." Chen narrowed his eyes and added thoughtfully, "He looks familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him before." Their attention soon shifted toward the ongoing semi-final battle between Chen Shan and Liu Tu. Chen observed carefully and said, "The winner will be decided very soon." As they watched, it became obvious that both fighters were evenly matched, making the outcome nearly impossible to predict. On stage, Liu stepped forward confidently and warned his opponent, "Since we both use the 3 Echo Thunder Rush Fist, you'll need your strongest move if you want to defeat me." Without hesitation, Liu charged forward with explosive speed. His fist slammed downward like a falling meteor. Chen Shan roared as he raised his arms to block. "Don't underestimate me!" The impact blasted violent winds across the arena floor. Flames suddenly erupted around Chen Shan's fist as he shouted proudly, "Watch carefully! I am the true number 1 of this school!" The crowd exploded into chaos. Students screamed, "Attribute externalization? He mastered it!" They stared in awe at the blazing fire attribute swirling around his arm, a power ranked second only to thunder. But Liu only smirked calmly. Energy flowed around his arm like liquid metal as he scoffed, "Attribute externalization isn't anything special." The crowd gasped again as metallic energy condensed around Liu's fists, forming swirling chains of steel. Students shouted in disbelief. "Metal attribute? It's stronger than fire in direct combat!" Liu dashed forward, chains rattling violently as he unleashed his attack. His punches echoed 5 times across the arena. Chen Shan's eyes widened in horror as he shouted, "5 Echo Thunder Rush Fist!" The collision exploded violently. Shockwaves blasted Chen Shan backward forward, sending dust and debris flying across the battlefield. In the stands, Principal Lee froze in shock. He muttered, "Liu Tu hid his true strength all along." Instructor Chen swallowed hard and added, "Mastering both attribute externalization and micro-level thunder rush in only 10 days. That's absurd." Principal Lee shook his head grimly. "The finals are already decided. Su Hong can't defeat Liu Tu's metal attribute." Chen sighed and replied quietly, "If Su Hong had learned a guidance technique, he might have had a chance." Suddenly, Jiang Ming stepped forward confidently and declared, "I'll bet 50,000 on Su Hong." Principal Lee nearly choked and shouted, "Are you insane? He's betting on someone without a guidance technique." Chen burst into laughter and replied smugly, "Fine, I'll happily take your money." Moments later, the final battle began. Liu Tu versus Su Hong. The arena roared with excitement. Some students chanted Su Hong's name while others shouted for Liu to dominate. Both fighters stepped onto the stage. Liu crossed his arms and sneered, "You're lucky you reached the finals without facing me or Chen Shan earlier." Su Hong remained calm, his expression completely unfazed. He thought quietly to himself that after hunting wild beasts, these students felt weak. Still, he admitted internally that Liu might finally be a worthy opponent. Liu grinned arrogantly and said, "You're strong. I'll admit you're the second strongest student here." Su Hong tilted his head slightly and asked calmly, "Then who's the first?" Liu stomped the ground, lightning crackling around his feet, as he declared proudly, "Me. I was born number 1. Without warning, he lunged forward and shouted, "One move will show you the gap between us." Students panicked instantly as they recognized the technique. They screamed, "He's using the 5-Echo Thunder Rush Fist immediately." Many believed the match was already over, but suddenly, Su Hong's eyes glowed with golden light. Flames burst around his fist as he charged forward recklessly, determined to test the limits of his physical body. The crowd shouted in terror, "He's insane! He's meeting it head-on instead of dodging!" Their fists collided like colliding meteors. The ground cracked beneath them as explosive shockwaves rippled across the arena. They exchanged blow after blow, energy bursting violently with every collision. Liu's eyes widened in disbelief. "He stopped my 5-Echo attack with 5 punches!" The battle intensified into a storm of fists and whipping energy chains. Liu clenched his teeth, thinking nervously that every strike from Su Hong felt impossibly heavy, like fighting a monstrous beast. In the stands, a teacher shouted in shock, "He's matching Liu Tu without using any martial skills." Another yelled, "His raw physical strength is terrifying." Officials stared in disbelief. Chen narrowed his eyes and whispered, "He must possess a special physique." Principal Lee burst into laughter, pride swelling in his chest. "Our school produced a true genius." But Chen quickly added, "Even so, Liu Tu's condensed attribute still gives him the advantage." Another violent clash forced both fighters backward. Su Hong steadied his flaming fist while Liu slid several meters across the stage. Fury filled Liu's expression as he roared, "I will win this!" Blue lightning surged violently around his arms as he powered up completely. He dashed forward, chains of energy swirling wildly. "Accept defeat!" Su Hong realized instantly that Liu had finally stopped holding back. He nodded slightly and murmured, "Since you're fighting seriously, I'll show you respect." Flames erupted around his fist as he sprinted forward. Suddenly, lightning exploded across the arena. Liu shouted in disbelief, "You can use attribute externalization too?" Principal Lee and Instructor Chen trembled as golden lightning filled the battlefield. Chen whispered in awe, "Thunder guidance technique. He mastered it." He continued nervously, "A special physique combined with thunder attribute, that's terrifying." Su Hong and Liu collided again, lightning and chains exploding across the arena like raging storms. Liu's expression twisted with fear as he realized something horrifying. Su Hong's thunder attribute was stronger than his metal attribute. Lightning coiled around Su Hong's entire body as he spoke calmly. "Since you've revealed your ultimate move, I'll respond properly." His golden eyes glowed brilliantly. He raised his fist and declared, "Thunder Rush Fist, ultimate form." He lunged forward. His strike landed with devastating force. Explosive echoes rang across the arena repeatedly, each impact stronger than the last. 1, 2, 3. The echoes continued multiplying. Liu screamed in disbelief. 9 echoes? That's impossible! Blood burst from his mouth as the final strike slammed him into the ground. Silence consumed the entire arena. Su Hong stood over him, thunder still crackling around his fists. Students stared in frozen shock shock until someone whispered hesitantly, "Did he win?" Then the arena exploded with excitement. Students screamed wildly, "Perfect realm! He reached the perfect realm!" Instructor Chen stuttered uncontrollably. Principal Lee trembled and declared proudly, "Su Hong is not just a genius, he is the dragon of Star City High." Chen wiped sweat from his forehead, imagining the terror awaiting the other prodigies in the training camp. As Su Hong calmly walked away from the stage, Chen watched him with admiration and said quietly, "A golden carp transforms into a dragon when it meets the wind." He smiled faintly and added, "Star City is far too small to contain him." Principal Lee nodded firmly and concluded, "He will rise like a dragon, shining across the imperial capital and the battlefield of 10,000 races." By the time Su Hong returned to his old apartment building, the sun was already setting. Inside, his uncle had just finished preparing a simple dinner. Su Hong stepped inside and called out casually, "I'm home." His uncle immediately turned and asked eagerly, "How did the exam go?" With a confident grin, Su Hong replied, "I took first place in the monthly exam." His uncle froze for a second, then his eyes widened. Then he burst out excitedly, celebrating as if he had won it himself. They were still laughing when loud knocking suddenly shook the door. A sharp female voice called from the hallway, "Is this Su Hong's home?" Su Hong frowned slightly and opened the door. Behind him, his uncle and aunt peeked cautiously. Outside stood a well-dressed woman, draped in expensive jewelry. She introduced herself calmly. "I am Lin Nan's mother," she continued smoothly. "Only the top 3 students can enter the training camp. My son ranked 4th. Then she got straight to the point. She pulled out a thick stack of cash and said flatly, "I'm offering 30,000. Give up your spot." The money sat there, unclaimed. Su Hong and his family simply stared at her, not tempted, just confused. Seeing that the cash had no effect, her tone shifted. She said coldly, "The training camp is brutal. People die there." She added sharply, "With your background, quitting early would be smarter." Her gaze swept over their modest home. She continued, "Other students have high-grade pills and resources you could never afford." Her words made Su Hong's aunt uneasy. She turned quietly and asked, "Is it really that dangerous?" His uncle gently rubbed her back to calm her. Then he looked at Su Hong seriously and asked, "Can you truly promise you'll be safe?" Su Hong stepped forward and answered clearly, "I can guarantee my own safety." The woman let out a mocking laugh and asked sarcastically, "Do you actually believe a kid's promise?" His uncle didn't hesitate. He replied firmly, "He's grown now. I trust my family more than any stranger." The door closed. From outside, the woman shouted angrily, "You're just waiting to get eliminated at camp." Inside, silence slowly returned. His uncle turned and asked quietly, "Did you hide how dangerous it really is?" Su Hong shook his head and said calmly, "It's not a big deal. I can handle it." His uncle raised a big thumbs up and said proudly, "I'm just an ordinary man, but if you have the courage to face it, we'll back you all the way." Suddenly, his aunt smacked his uncle's back and scolded, "Stop making it sound so dramatic." She added softly, "We don't care about rankings or glory. We just want you safe." Su Hong nodded with a warm smile. Hearing that made his chest feel lighter. Later that night, he stood alone on the rooftop. City lights flickered beneath him. He knew they supported him, but they were worried. He whispered quietly to himself, "I won't let them down." If he wanted to protect this new life, he had to grow stronger. He opened his system interface. 285 martial value points, earned from the monthly exam. But it didn't feel like enough. His mortal body stat stood at 36.1%. Thinking of the powerful geniuses at the training camp, he made a decision. Strengthen the body first. He began adding points. A red glow surrounded him. The percentage climbed steadily. When it stopped, steam rose from his skin. 64.6%, still far from 100%. He wondered what special physique would awaken when it was complete. Then he noticed something unexpected. His thunder guidance technique, his heavenly flame guidance technique. Both had quietly advanced to level 2. He frowned slightly. He had only practiced casually for a few days. Maybe there were no special conditions. Maybe steady effort was enough. Curious, he decided to test it immediately. Lightning gathered in one hand, flames ignited in the other. He began cultivating through the night. By dawn, sunlight spilled across the skyscrapers. Su Hong opened his eyes. Fire and electricity swirled faintly around him. A notification appeared. Both techniques, level 3. He checked his stats. Vitality, 100%. 126, an increase of 3 points. Mortal body, 64.6%. Martial value, 0. Everything used. Later that morning, he stood outside the apartment building, weapon resting over his shoulder, ready. His aunt looked at him anxiously and said softly, "Stay safe. If things don't go well, you can always come home." His uncle immediately protested and said, "Don't say things like that." Then he waved enthusiastically and declared, "Go win another first place." Su-hong smiled and replied, "I will." He turned and walked down the quiet street. Once he was far enough, his uncle's brave expression collapsed. His body trembled slightly. Tears streamed down his face. His aunt looked at him knowingly and asked gently, "Aren't you just as worried?" He admitted quietly, "I am." Then he added, "I just don't want him carrying our fear with him." Meanwhile, as Su-hong walked, his senses detected movement. A red sports car turned the corner sharply. It stopped beside him. The window rolled down. President Wu Lingson sat inside, sunglasses on. She said calmly, "Get in." Soon, they were racing down the highway. Su-hong glanced at her and asked, "Why did you come to pick me up personally?" Without looking away from the road, she replied, "I have a few important reminders about the training camp." She continued, "As president, I know the details about the participants." Her voice turned serious. "Several students are already Tier 1 high-stage martial artists, close to Tier 2, she added. Their martial skills are at least B- rank. Su-hong listened calmly. Tier 2 required 200 vitality points. He was far from that, but he wasn't worried. Even if they had powerful skills, his system allowed rapid growth. Wu Lingson continued, "Your talent is the best I've seen, but you lack the resources they have." She added evenly, "Even if you fail, don't feel discouraged. Surpassing them is only a matter of time." Su-hong smiled faintly and said sincerely, "Thank you, Sister Wu." She glanced at him briefly. She thought quietly. Even after hearing the gap between himself and the others, he remained completely calm. His mindset wouldn't be a problem at all. At the Tonlin mountain range, a large vehicle drives along a winding road beside towering mountains. Inside the car are the top 3 candidates along with the principal. One of the other candidates exclaims in shock that the training camp is actually in the Tian mountain range, the place where ferocious beasts gather. The principal reassures them and says not to worry too much. He explains that a grandmaster oversees the training camp, so under normal circumstances, there won't be any life-threatening danger. After hearing this, Su-hong reflects silently. He knows that the Tonlin mountain range is a massive stretch of mountains spanning multiple cities, including Star City and Yang City. The spiritual energy there is extremely dense, and ferocious beasts are everywhere. There are even beast kings inside, comparable to Tier 7 Grand Masters. The competition among ferocious beasts in this place is unbelievably cruel. Even a Tier 1 ferocious beast on the outer edges of the mountain range is far more savage than beasts elsewhere. Ordinary Tier 2 martial artists wouldn't dare step into this place casually. As the car speeds through the area, shadows shift among the trees. Many beasts watch from the darkness, their gazes locked onto the vehicle as if they are observing another massive creature passing through their territory. The other candidates grow nervous. One says he feels like something is staring at them. Another wonders whether a ferocious beast might suddenly attack. Su-hong, however, remains calm. In his heart, he thinks that the competition inside the training camp will probably be just like the slaughter among these ferocious beasts, brutal and unforgiving. Strangely, he realizes he's starting to like this feeling. Soon, the car arrives at the camp. Many people are already gathered outside. The candidates step out and look around. One of them whispers, wondering how strong the other participants must be. As soon as they walk forward, countless intense gazes fall upon them. The pressure is immediate. The other candidates fall silent under the stares. Su-hong, however, simply smiles calmly and says they should go. The others nod and follow before they can proceed further. A staff member stops them and tells them to wait until everyone arrives. Then someone mentions that the camp entrance assessment is about to begin. Su-hong is surprised and asks if there's even an entrance assessment. At that moment, someone says that they've arrived. Another mutters sarcastically that big families are amazing, making everyone else wait for them. A convoy of cars pulls in and stops. Several people step out confidently. One of them looks around and asks if this is the place. A voice in the crowd suddenly shouts that Goddess Yao Nan looks so cool and beautiful, adding that spirit masters are truly enviable. Another person agrees and says she's in a league of her own. Someone else points toward another figure and says it's Lin Sing Ji from the Lin family. They mention that he's almost tier 2 already and say he's way too flashy. Another group begins moving forward confidently. The crowd whispers again, saying the city lord's son, barbarian god Wong Tinto, is here as well. They say his fire attribute compatibility is 95% and that he also possesses a special physique. As these prominent figures walk past and stop near Su Hong, he observes them calmly. In his heart, he wonders if the three leading the group are the top geniuses President Wu mentioned. He thinks he would like to see just how genius they truly are. Soon, a staff member steps forward and announces that everyone has arrived. He begins explaining the rules for the camp entrance assessment. He says that the training camp lies 30 kilometers deep inside the Tian mountain range. Tokens have been placed inside the bodies of certain ferocious beasts, and only those who obtain a token will be allowed to enter the camp. One of the candidates mutters that walking 30 kilometers in a day doesn't sound too bad. However, others quickly point out that this isn't an ordinary road. This is the Tianlin mountain range. Once they go deep into the mountains, no one knows what level of ferocious beasts they might encounter. If something goes wrong, people could lose their lives. Su Hong, on the other hand, thinks calmly that they just need to arrive within 8 hours, which sounds simple enough. He even thinks that if he moves efficiently, he'll have extra time to hunt a few more ferocious beasts and earn additional martial value. Another candidate nervously asks what happens if they encounter ferocious beasts far stronger than themselves. The staff member replies bluntly that if that happens, they can consider themselves unlucky and eliminated, though someone will come rescue them before they actually die. Some of the candidates complain that it's unfair. Others argue that this system relies too much on luck and that the strong might get eliminated while the weak pass purely by chance. The staff member remains silent for a moment before another instructor steps forward and speaks firmly. He says, "This world isn't a game. They might cultivate bitterly for over 10 years only to be casually killed by a passing expert the moment they step onto the all-heavens battlefield." He asks whether they would complain about fairness then too. He explains that if they want to avoid high-tier ferocious beasts, they should act cautiously, avoiding risk, using strength to bully the weak, fighting with numbers against fewer opponents. These are all part of battlefield survival. Those are the real rules of the world. Another voice suddenly shouts that the instructor is right and says, if anyone is afraid of death, they should quit now instead of wasting everyone's time. He calls them trash for being scared of this and that all day. Hearing this, another candidate gets furious and demands that he repeat what he just said. The first guy sneers and calls him a coward and trash again. He tells him that if he's not convinced, he can make a move and see how easily he'll be taken down. The staff member steps in and reminds everyone that violence is prohibited inside the camp. However, once they enter the mountains, the instructors won't interfere. Whether it's snatching tokens or beating someone up because they don't like their face, that will be their own business. The atmosphere instantly turns tense. Rivalries spark on the spot. Zhu Hong watches all of this quietly and thinks that the training camp is truly cruel. It's practically encouraging them to fight each other. Under such rules, more than half the participants will probably be eliminated. He also realizes that if he fights these people, he could likely gain a lot of martial value. The staff member checks his device, which starts beeping and then loudly announces that the assessment has begun. He orders everyone to move out. The candidates immediately rush forward. Some shout for everyone to charge. Others yell that they must pass. Someone complains about being pushed and tells others to get out of the way. As they reach the mountains and forests, chaos breaks out almost instantly. One candidate points at another and threatens to send him rolling back home right now. The other retorts that if he wants to be eliminated this early, he'll gladly oblige. The first guy gathers aura into his fist and declares that the other is dead. The second responds by forming icy aura around his own fist. Their fists collide and they unleash unleash a rapid flurry of punches at each other. Watching from nearby, Su-hong evaluates the situation calmly. He originally wanted to use this chance to gauge the strength of these so-called geniuses, but now he feels they are far less impressive than the rumors suggested. Even if he defeats them, he doubts he would gain much martial value. He decides it would be better to hurry ahead and hunt higher-level ferocious beasts instead. Meanwhile, the Asura fighter mocks his opponent, saying a pauper will always be a pauper, and that no matter how hard someone cultivates, they can't compare to a family's generations of accumulated resources. The other guy struggles angrily and tells him to shut up, insisting he shouldn't be compared to a bunch of working-class paupers. The insults escalate, with one side belittling hard cultivation and repeating the word pauper again and again as the clash between background and personal effort becomes as fierce as their punches. All around them, the word pauper keeps echoing again and again. Su-hong can't believe how childish and idiotic this argument is. He calmly says that it looks like he can't let this delivered martial value slip away. He then steps forward and tells them to stop fighting and play with him instead. Both of them pause and stare at him. The Asura guy scoffs and tells him to get lost, saying another pauper just showed up and warning him to be careful or he'll beat him too. The other guy glares at Su-hong and asks what level he thinks he is to dare interfere in their fight. Su-hong calmly replies that they misunderstood him. What he meant was that they should stop fighting each other and join forces to fight him instead. The moment those words leave his mouth, one of them explodes in anger and charges forward, shouting that Su-hong dares to look down on him and must have a death wish. Su-hong moves instantly. With a swift step and a powerful kick, he strikes the charging opponent hard. The guy feels as if his entire life flashes before his eyes as he's sent flying through the air with just that one kick. The Asura fighter freezes in disbelief. In his mind, he can't understand how someone with similar strength to him just lost in a single move. He looks at Su-hong, who is already adjusting his stance, ready for the next exchange. He thinks about how fast that footwork was. Su-hong calmly tells him that now it's his turn. The Asura guy feels fear creeping in, but it's too late. Su-hong moves again and lands a clean strike to his face, sending him flying as well. This is just the beginning. Many more will be sent flying like this. To not miss it, subscribe right now and turn on all the notifications.